Um,
All right,
yes, sir.
Dakini is the short film. Arniko Singh is the filmmaker. A film from Nepal. It's 43 minutes long. It's kind of an experimental horror thriller film. Is that a best way to describe your film?
Yes, absolutely. Horror, thriller, mystery, more of a mystery, thriller, and suspense, and then a little bit elements of horror. Yes, sir.
Definitely, definite elements of horror. Well, kind of, it starts kind of tone wise on that kind of aspect, right? Where it's like it's haunting. You have a very haunting opening in your film.
Yes. It's kind of we kind of wanted to set up the tone right off the get-go, and make sure, like, because it's dark, right? So we kind of wanted to say, like, you know what, let's not gonna waste any time, just gonna go right into it. uh,
So
so
in,
we had a
so
little
in
bit of
terms
dark,
of
yeah.
the in
Mhm.
terms of the black and white aspect, is that something you always had in mind, even when you're filming? It was going to be black and white.
Yes, yes, because when because I wrote it as well. I'm the writer as well on this. So when I wrote the script of the film, I couldn't envision anything in color. I kind of wanted to see is like if I were to watch this, what would make it more interesting as well as more suspicious, and what would set up the tone. And the first thing that I thought of is black and white, and not only black and white, but also that 4:3 aspect ratio, which, uh, for some reason, kind of like, have you seen the movie The Lighthouse?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that's what popped in my head. And what do you think? Do you think that does that do a good job?
Yeah, of course. Well, I wouldn't be talking to you if it didn't, I guess, right?
Right. Right, right. Well, it's art is subjective, right? So I don't know, like, that's what I thought of it, and I told a lot of folks, and a lot of times people are like, "Are you sure you want to do 4:3 and black and white?" I'm like, "Well, that's what I think is going to work," and I hope it did. I think it did.
So so thematically,
Mhm.
it's the journey between perception and reality, I guess, right?
Correct, correct. So it's more like a folklore in Southeast Asia. That's why we had a little disclaimer. It's, basic theme is like, whatever seems, and that's true in any cultural aspect, is sometimes whatever seems evil is not really evil, and whatever seems good is actually not good. Evil can disguise itself in goodness, and goodness can disguise itself in evil, right?
Yeah.
So simple story, but that, and then we kind of went ahead and added elements to it to, yeah.
So tell me about the idea of this film. Kind of based, is it based in on your culture? Is that the sort of the seed comes from?
Yeah, so my family's from Nepal, and it's Southeast Asian country right in between India and China. That's where Mount Everest is. Um, and I was always curious, whenever I go to Nepal every year. So whenever I visit Nepal, I would always be curious about knowing, understanding, and um, trying to sort of learn my own culture through local folklore. Saying, "Hey, what is this?" And a few years back, about 5 years ago, somebody had mentioned to me about Dakini. Actually, so in that part of the world, whenever I go at nighttime, I'd always be scared because it's in the middle of the woods and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, this is scary. And somebody had mentioned something about Dakini, and I was like, hey, what does that mean? And then one thing like the other, they started telling me this story about, this. It's usually it's a beautiful girl, and you would know, it's emo embodiment of evil and all that. First of all, it scared the crap out of me for a long time, and then I wrote the story, and so yeah, yeah. And also the religious aspects of it too. And obviously the cultural, but also religious. You'll see a lot of things in this movie in a certain color. Why is that certain color, like yellow, is more prevalent in the movie, right? Why did it have to be yellow? Why couldn't it be, I don't know, pink? Well, because in Hinduism, certain colors actually has significant meaning to it. Yellow thwarts evil. Red is color of, life and death. Blue is usually. Have you seen, like, if you're familiar with Hindu goddesses, you'll see usually Hindu gods in blue, like blue body.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So the reason being is because blue is the color of God.
Okay.
Um, like James Cameron when he was writing.
You're so it's funny because you're wearing blue right now. So
Yeah, well, this has nothing to do with it. This is the only cleanest shirt that I could
I'm
find
just
today.
kidding. I'm just
No,
kidding around. Go ahead.
no, but that's no. James Cameron, for his Avatar, it was vastly influenced by the Hindu mythology
Gotcha.
or culture. Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me. Okay, so so are you Hindu yourself? Is that like your
Mhm.
ideology?
Yes. That's came with the idea myself. And did a lot of research. Um, I just didn't want to just put anything just because of my imagination. Because whenever you're tying something to the culture and religion, you have to be very careful, right?
Yeah.
Not to hurt any sentiments, and just don't want to show anything just out of ordinary. So yeah,
Well, I get yeah, I guess yeah, you don't, I guess, right? Because you have like because you have respect for the culture, I guess, right? So you don't want to yeah.
right. There are a few people. Well, I mean, even I mean, I learned about more about my culture while doing this, and also, I mean, we could do a lot. We wanted to, like, at least me, when I did research, like, I mean, you've watched the movie. There's this scenario where you watch the transformation of especially the female's lower body, right?
Mhm.
That was also I did research, and there's like, hey, that's usually what's written, what happens. So I just didn't think of it like, oh no, we're just gonna make it cool and do that. No. Everything that happens in this movie, it has some sort of significance to it. It's just not because I was just drinking a beer and I thought about something cool.
All right, so like shit like Schindler's List had the red dress with the
Right.
black and white kind of concept, right?
Mhm.
I'm sure there's
Mhm.
been other examples of that kind of using the
Sin
color within
City,
the
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't remember it, but basically, and I watch a lot of movies, but that's sort of what jumped out for me. So you
sure,
have the yellow rope, and then you have the yellow on the boy. Um,
correct.
how, like just from a practical standpoint, how do you
Mhm.
like, is that easy to do, or is that you have to do that in post production?
So, there's that's a very good question, actually. So, what we did, it's easy to do, but you have to be kind of careful. Especially, it was tougher for us is because we shot it in 6K in color, obviously, right? Because there's a couple of VFXs and stuff too. So if we would have shot it, it's easier to make color into black and white than turn black and white into color, right? So it's tougher for that. So what we did was we shot it in 6K, and we had to have a specific lighting. Now, what we did is that yellow you see on the boy is actually green. Um, if we were to put the actual yellow stuff, it would have worked perfect, right? But the shooting a scene, it takes a long time. So that
Yeah,
would have just we would have to reapply it more and more and more. So we just thought, you know what, we're just gonna paint it green and we're gonna do that in color. So that we did that in post. The rope itself is actually yellow. Um, it was for somebody like it was one of my crew members, he came up to me and said, this is all fantastic idea, but this is my first project, by the way. And they were like, you're making it very complicated in the first try. I'm like, well, that's what I've thought of it. So, but it is logistically, it was a little technically, it was actually a little challenging for sure, especially being shot where it is, in Nepal. By the way, when we shot it, it was peak of December, and you see the little boy and the man. In terms of U.S. temperature, I think it was probably almost minus, and they were just I was wearing two jackets and I was still cold, and that little boy is where he's bare chested, and I felt bad for him, and he was actually sick half the time.
because he was bare chested, or because he just happened to be sick.
No, because he was bare chested. He also
Gotcha.
had cough and cold, and it was so cold. And we were actually even in Nepal. We were in higher elevation,
Yeah.
and um, we just had space heaters. We didn't have so every time after there would be a shot,
You
I
take
would just run up to him and put him a blanket. His mother was on the set. Actually, last day, I think, final day of the shoot, he had a fever of 103 or 104, and I felt really bad. I was like, look, we got to get him done first.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well,
it
so the
was.
mom, the mom, but the mom was game for the film. Then she was like, she
Yeah,
knew.
yeah, no, she was very excited, and she's still very excited. That's that is, I believe. Sampana, that's his name. It's his first sort of a big role you could per se, because you've done a lot of commercials and music videos and stuff. But this is,
Gotcha.
and they were excited about the story. So yeah, she was very excited. She's still in touch with me all the time, and she shares everything. Yeah,
So
she
you're
was on
from,
board.
so you live in the state, you live in the United States right now, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do.
But you
This is
shot the
where I live
film,
at.
you shot the film in
Mhm.
Nepal, right?
Yes, sir. I shot it in Nepal.
So tell me about that process, because it would the whole crew was in the cast was from Nepal.
Yes. So um every the production crew, every single member was in Nepal. Me being the executive producer, director and writer, obviously, and then cinematographer, the line producers, the actors and actresses, and everybody was in Nepal. Now, just the post production wise, most of it, besides editing, everything was done in the United States. Sound, VFX, color, everything was done here
Mhm.
because um, logistically, I work here. I live in the United States. I'm from the United States. Virtually like I'm more American, I think, than I'm Nepali because I've lived here more of my life than in Nepal.
Mhm.
But so I have a job. Obviously, I have to pay for the bills and all that stuff. So it wouldn't have been logistically possible for me to stay in Nepal and do all that stuff. So I got all the important stuff done there, and then and when I came back for 6 or so months, I did the VFX sound and everything here. It was fun. It was fun.
So okay, so tell me about that process. I'm assuming you speak the language, correct?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, Nepali language. Yes, sir.
So
Now,
okay, so I was just saying you go to Nepal, you're gonna make this film.
mhm.
Like, do you go there before, like, and then
I
find
go there.
find the
I go there. I
cast?
go to Nepal every year. I
Okay,
go to
okay,
Nepal every year. So the year before we shot it, what I did was I kind of did. I go to because I have still half my family members in Nepal, so I go there anyway. I
okay.
go, but the year before I shot it, what we did was I went there. I kind of did like location scout. I was like, this is where I want to shoot it and all that stuff, and it really helped a lot. I'll be honest with you. If you would have, if somebody else would have went to go make it, not being a Nepali, then they would have had a tough time. But for me, it was easy because I knew the folks, I know the language. Now, talking about the language, though, I wrote this script because my Nepali, like, I can read. Oh, I mean, I can write Nepali, but I can't read. So I had to hire a translator. I wrote this script in English, and I had to have a translator to translate my dialogues from
Mhm.
English to Nepali. So that
Isn't
was the
there
one.
different dialects though, and different kind of
There's
languages within the languages?
There is, and well, especially the language that we use in this is it's not like your day to day. It's like talking if you watch a movie like like the medieval England language versus today's you and I were how we're talking is different, right? So I kind of wanted to have that kind of language. So I hired somebody that he's a very intellectual individual. He's a professor in University of Kathmandu. So I hired him and I said, hey, I need you to translate this English into a very, very fine ancient Nepali. Like, are you familiar with Sanskrit?
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah,
So it has a lot of elements of Sanskrit in it.
gotcha. So,
Yeah.
but this language is still going strong, right? Like they're
Oh yeah, Sanskrit. Yeah, yeah,
no, I'm
absolutely.
talking about Nepali. Like it's not. There's no
Oh
fear
yeah,
of it. Yeah, yeah.
almost like I think 60 to 70 million people. I speak Nepali every day with my parents, my family, and friends. Yeah, Nepali's it's going strong. Yeah.
Okay, so you found like your cinematographer,
Hmm.
is so important to your film, right? Because it's the way it's shot. It's a lot of close-ups, the
Right.
darkness to the light. Like it's like this is not an easy film to shoot. So tell me about your relationship with your cinematographer.
It was good. He was actually a referral from somebody that I knew, and I saw his work. I believe he had done his study from Ireland, and he's Nepali, but he done there. So he came, he showed me his work, and then we went there. We spent a little bit of time, and I basically told him, look, you and I need to be on the same page in order for this to work. So we did, and I'll be honest with you. There were a few mistakes made. I'm not gonna lie to you, and we have to more so. I'll tell you what. I will give the credit to the editor more so than him because he did a lot of work in the post production.
Gotcha. I could tell from the tone of your voice that when I asked
Yeah.
you that question, but it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So let's just put it that way.
Thank you. No, so that's credit is where credit is. Obviously, he shot it, but here's the thing. Well, I should definitely give credit to first and foremost the editor and the
Yeah.
colorist. They worked 5 times more hard than he did.
Well, generally speaking, it's the cinematographer who does
Mhm.
the color correction, right? So, but I guess he wasn't.
Correct. Let's just put it this way: I gave him a chance, and he didn't do well, so I had to hire somebody else.
Gotcha. All right, so
Yeah.
so tell me about your cast. Where'd you find your cast?
So, so since I was actually when I wrote this script here, I didn't have the luxury to go to Nepal and like obviously meet with them and do. So what I did was, it's funny for both of them. I had them in mind anyway. So what I did was, it's actually very very easy in terms of if you're trying to make a movie. If you It's easier to get in touch with one of the actors if you have a good script. So I got in touch with one of the mediators and I said, hey, this is the script I have, can you forward it to them and see what they want to do. And both of them like the script, and they're actually very popular in Nepal. And they're very good actors, so they said yes, absolutely, this is a very good project because it's a unique story. um, but what I did was, in order to choose them, what I did is, I think at that time, it was a year ago, I had watched every single interview that I can find for both of them on YouTube. That was my basically screen test, every
Okay.
single thing. And then the little boy, we found him, um, I think 4 days before. And when I looked at it, I was like, I think this is the guy. So yeah.
So your actress is tied up a lot in the film.
Yes, 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 she is. That was
Not even not metaphorically, like she's physically tied
literally,
up in the film.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
that was one of the first things that I kind of like talked to her after she read the script. I was like, look, you're gonna be in a very uncomfortable position for a long duration of time. Is that okay? She's like, yeah, as long as everything is okay, it's not too unbearable. And I was like, no, of course not. So every time, so one of the things that actually I want to tell you is, you know, most of these, hopefully, I mean, that now that you talk to me, it maybe it'll be a surprise to you, but most of these um, scenes that you shot, mostly are one takes. We didn't take another shot. And well, primarily a lot of factors. It was very cold. The actress was in the position where, and we didn't have that. And I had a very limited time. It was only a 4 day shoot. And being in a third world country has its challenges. We'd always get a late start. This didn't work, that didn't work. And I was, and I had a return ticket. So I was like, look, I need to get it done. So let's take all the shots first and then we'll figure out later on. But, all the credit to the actors. They hit all of the marks right when I asked them to, so there was no need to take another shot. So actually, yeah, it was tough for her, but also we made her life easier by not having to do multiple takes. Yeah.
Well, like so 43 minutes is a long time for a short film. Were
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
always was
No,
that
sir.
always the running time you had in your mind?
I wanted to make it less than around 15 or less than that. But once we did it, basically, I'll tell you, this movie was made twice. Once I wrote this script, which was supposed to be 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And then this actual product that you saw was actually made in post production because I came back to the United States and then I saw all the footage and everything. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to redo it. Like, this movie has to be redone. So that's why, hence, I always want to give credit to my editor, Ganesh, and he's done a good job. When me and him, we sat down and we said, okay, let's do this. And by the time when we were done, when we were satisfied with it, it was like 43 minutes long. Now, obviously, majority of the film festivals, right? The bigger ones, it's 40 minutes or less. So I had a decision to make, and I said, look, I'm making this movie, as a hobby. So I'm not gonna cut anything out. But you watched the movie. You think if it was any, you know, if I had taken any certain scenes away, you think it would have done justice to any of that?
Yeah, well, I think you could if you in full candor. I think that there's some trimming to do. Yeah, you could make it about 35 minutes.
Right. See, that's one of the things that, I was toying with all along, right? And finally I was like, you know what, just let it be. It's I'm sure there's a lot of, I mean, we've tried multiple versions, by the way. There was one 7-minute version that we did, which was like, was like, ooh, that was a little brutal. But no, it could be shorter. But I think I like the way it is, yeah.
So tell me about speaking of that, tell me about what we sent the audience to you. What do you think what the audience had to say about your film?
That was great. That was a great, you know, outside of the cast and crew, I believe that's the first, and my personal circle of friends and relatives. That was the first um, uh, authentic and actual feedback that I got from strangers per se, or audience, you can say, and that felt very good. I mean, everybody, was appreciative of what we did, and um, kind of like that what we just talked about earlier, kind of gave justification to what I thought, that black and white, the color, because those are the things that I thought that people were going to appreciate, and they did. So yeah. So I was that was a very good. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, for that. I shared it with my cast and crew, and they all loved it. And they feel it was worth something.
So yeah, are you gonna? I'm assuming you're gonna make another film.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I'm afforded another opportunity, I'm actually writing a script currently for full feature, and that's probably going to be here in the United States. And yeah, if I'm capable of, sure, absolutely. That's what I want to do.
So you said this is even in the blog interview, you kind of said this is your hobby, but you would love to make it your profession, but this is your hobby right now.
Correct. Yes. Yes. This is my hobby. It's not, I didn't, I'm not doing this in the mindset of like, I have to make it or break it. This, would I love to do it? Absolutely. Why not make your hobby your profession, get paid for it and do it, right? That'd be the best thing. Um, but I don't, I have a different mentality. I want to do this because there's just a lot of people like to play guitar, paint pictures, or do this, play basketball. I want to make movies or write scripts. So
So you're an
that's
engineer
my,
right now.
yes, by education I am. I work in finance, but by education I am.
Oh, do you see? Are you still working for the audio company? Auto like a car company?
Yes, yes, General Motors.
Oh yeah, so you're an engineer and you worked at General Motors. So I have
Hmm.
that. My dad was an engineer who worked at General Motors. So
But I'm working in finance as a
work in finance.
for General Motors. Yeah, like I'm one of the, yeah. It's was I actually wanted to study. It's funny, like so when I went to WVU, I used to actually skip my engineering classes, and I'd go to like drama and theater class, and I would sit in the class just like trying to learn those things. So not having a formal education in film, not that I don't think it mattered. I guess it does in a little bit, but yeah.
Well, all right, man. Well, let's talk again when you make your next film, and I wish you the best of
Sure.
success with this one. It's a gutsy film, and it works. It's
Mhm.
got definitely got lore to it, and it's yeah, it's definitely a mystery for sure.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I want to take this moment to thank you and Wild Films. And, you guys have such a, for somebody like, I have not, I don't know many folks or
Mhm.
people, and I don't have connections, but just what you guys doing is, giving us motivation, us new guys, new folks, a chance. And I really appreciate that. I was glad that I found your film festival online, and I applied, and the rest is, so I really appreciate it. And I definitely, most definitely, next time, whatever my project is, I will definitely submit it to you guys. And just because, you know what they say, right? Is you never forget the when you're starting out as something, or when you're new, and whoever helps you first, you never forget them.
Well, I appreciate
So
that.
it's
All
you
right.
guys.
Well, then again, that's the cue. Let's talk again when you make your next film.
Sounds good, sir.